Hey guys, welcome back to Astrea's Broken Heart. And you might notice I have a bit of a pattern. I'll play something and then I'll go back and do an episode of Astrea's Broken Heart, play something else, another episode of Astrea's Broken Heart. Mostly because I just kind of want to be playing this all the time. And I'm just kind of fitting in the other stories in between. So it's not just the same thing story over and over again. But anyway, so basically I'm excited to be, I don't know, this story just has a bit of a hold on me. I don't know, I'm very much enjoying it. So I did a thing. I've been working, I have most of these up to date. I think the only ones I don't have up to date yet are Felonia's and Cassiel's, but as far as these four, these three and then this four, I have mostly up to date. And I think I'm gonna play David's Vow today, because while in the beginning I wasn't really interested in him that much, honestly he grew on me. I had completely written him off, I'll be honest, but I don't know what it is. Something's kind of... So anyway, basically I'm going to be romancing everyone possible in this story. So if you want to see those scenes, they will be here. At least until, like, I'll say maybe episode 5 of season 2. I'll give them at least that amount of time to impress me, to see if I'm still interested. If it's no longer doing it for me, then I might stop at that point. But at least until that point, I'm going to be playing everyone's files. So that's what I've been doing in my spare time. Catching up all those save files. So let's continue on with episode 8. A special evening. For several mornings now, Melody had woken up and Astrea feeling utterly drained. She lay still and watched the first rays of sunlight creep into the room. The start of a new day filled her with memories again. Okay, so the last thing that happened was, the weird brother tried to shoot us, and so we've learned that this Beast character is sending people after us to attack us and try to hurt us for some particular reason. We don't really understand why. I think she finally came to the decision that she's also going to ask for help soon, so hopefully that happens soon with what she has going on. And yeah, so I can understand why she's feeling pretty, maybe confused, kind of sad, I don't know. PTSD for sure. Her head felt heavy and her chest tightened with the dawning realization. Is this really happening to me? Melody tried again and again to come to a conclusion with a clear head. But each time, clarity became harder and harder to reach. As soon as she started to analyze the situation, all rational thoughts became drowned out by fear. Someone is trying to kill me. Trying to suppress her rapidly rising panic, Melody closed her eyes and focused on her surroundings. I'm in a room. I can feel the warmth of the sun's rays. I'm safe and sound. My life goes on. It was comforting to know that hers were not the only one. And Oscar will live on too. Yeah! The most vivid memories of the past few days flashed before her eyes. Ethan, in a pool of his own blood, staring lifelessly at nothing. Philip Moore banging his head against the interrogation room window. Could they be connected to me through Goodlem? Did my patient tell them about me? Is that how they all became like this? It sounded absurd. But I've seen so many cases in my work at the clinic. The desire to kill a specific woman might not be as unlikely as it seems. Moore visited Oscar, so he could have known his brother Ethan. In Goodlem, they could have easily crossed paths with my patient and with me. It all seemed logical. She could see the unfortunate circumstances that led her being their chosen victim. If only I could ask him questions without involving Astrea. The only piece that didn't quite fit was the beast. If this is a group, as Mikkel claims, then they worship some kind of higher evil. A religious cult so absorbed in its deity that its followers can actually hear its voice? But what do I have to do with their cult? Any other victims? Is there a connection between us? At first glance, they had nothing in common. There must be something. They're definitely targeting specific people. That's why they know me so well. The voice she'd heard in the garden echoed in her mind. She shuddered. They were watching me. Melody realized that recent events had put everyone around her in danger, and it was all because of her. It's hard because we know information that she does not, and we know that this story is a supernatural story. And we know that it's connected to Heaven's Secret, which means there's probably angels and demons, which all the rest of her coworkers are angels and demons, so they're going to be involved in this anyway. So we know that. I mean, and even still, on her case, though, she should know that they're after the person that's trying to hurt her. So, I mean, they would have gotten involved either way. But I can understand her feeling a little bit guilty, but still. Just saying. But Astrea has been searching for the followers of this beast for a long time. There you go. What are the chances that I ended up here purely by accident? Probably zero. Her next thought came in a flash. There are too many coincidences. And the most surprising thing is that ever since I started working here, I've been running into these murderers constantly. It's like I'm bait. Oh! She didn't want to throw accusations around, but she didn't want to be naive either. Did they really need to take me to see Philip more? Or did they want us to see each other? I don't think they knew about that connection. If I'm being honest with you, I don't think they knew about that. Because it was a diamond option to remember that she had seen him before anyway. So I don't think it had anything to do with that. I don't get that vibe. As soon as she grasped at what felt like a logical explanation, it immediately crumbled in her hands. But what proof did they need? Moore was called at the scene of the crime. His connection to the killers is clear. And my patient attacked me way before I came to Astrea. Are they testing me? Melody ran her fingers through her hair, trying to hold the raging stream of thoughts in her head. So many mysteries. With a soft, drawn-out groan, Melody grabbed her phone. Enough thinking. It's time to do something. Malik has free access to my patient. He can ask him any question he wants. And my patient has to answer honestly if he wants to avoid jail time. Melody dialed the number on the elegant business card, then hesitated. Maybe I should have rehearsed my speech first? For some strange reason, the thought of the professor made her inexplicably uncomfortable. It's not strange to be uncomfortable around that man. I'm telling you, he likes to make people uncomfortable. It's just that I don't want to owe him anything. I'm not sure I deserve his help. I'm used to solving my problems on my own. I wish I could ask someone closer to me for help. I don't like that. And I feel like these two kind of ring more independent skeptic vibe. So perhaps this one is another faith choice. Okay. If I had such a person, of course. I didn't think you would call me yourself. His mocking voice quickly confused all her thoughts and seeped into her mind. Can't wait to get your license back and leave Astrea? Melody hesitated again. She was surprised that she finally had things going on in her life that could distract her from old problems. Compared to the fact that someone is trying to kill me, prison doesn't seem like such a terrible place. Actually, that's not what I wanted to ask. I'm not sure if I can talk about it over the phone. I'll pick you up at the agency and we'll talk somewhere private. Melody had no idea what was on the professor's mind. She tried to protest. I think I can explain just my request in the car. I prefer to hear your childhood story in a more pleasant setting. Childhood story? Did you forget that was the payment that you made? So he didn't get the payment from Ruth? Though your request is different, its price remains the same. A conversation for a favor. Okay, that's to be fair. Fair. She remembered now that Malik had asked for her in exchange for helping her to get her license back. Now what? Malik had asked. Okay. She breathed out. Alright. I don't know how my past could be useful to him, but I won't get my answers otherwise. I'll be there in 20 minutes. So soon? But, without waiting for an answer, Malik hung up. Rude. He didn't even ask if I'd be ready by then. The professor's confidence was both striking and disarming, and a little annoying. Okay, the important thing is that he agreed. Melody glanced in the mirror, then hurried downstairs. Before leaving, she decided to tell Mikkel that she would be away. I'm at work, after all. Like, what is the work schedule here? Is it just like whenever there is something, she just has to be on call 24/7? Like, what are these working conditions? This is all out of whack. Okay. As it turned out, she wasn't the only one who wanted to talk to Mikkel this morning. The silence of the hallway was broken by muffled voices coming from the director's office. I can't help you, Felonia. Because Mikkel said so? Because he's in charge here, and you know that very well. Felonia is asking to speak to the higher-ups again? Aren't you above all this? This isn't about me. I guess Mikkel isn't here. Should I look for him somewhere else? Should I stay or should I go? Next class will let you learn something about Raphael. Oh, it's a diamond rush. I'm like, where are my options? Like, what's the price? Do you think this is romantic or... No, we're not even talking to him. Surely not. We go. Melody moved back from the door until she was a safe distance away, then listened to the rather heated conversation. The last time David and I waited for Mikkel to talk to us, it was in the hallway. The situation behind the door was getting heated. Felonia's voice was growing irritated, and Raphael's was getting tired. Who are you holding on to here? No one cares about you, just like they don't care about me. What do they all want with Raphael? I can't help you, Felonia. Your fate is your responsibility. I have a much more important task on my shoulders, and you keep forgetting that. Mikkel sees it. That's why he doesn't believe you. Even through the wall, Melody could feel the tension coming from that room. A heavy, oppressive silence seeped through the cracks, one filled with pain. Did you ask your father why he did this to you? Why you must die while others live? What Raphael wrote in his journal isn't nonsense. Is he really dying? The unexpected news made her knees buckle. Is that why he always looks so sad? Is he sick? The silence dragged on, or being used as a sacrifice. For a moment it seemed that Felonia had succeeded in wounding him, but then suddenly his steely voice said otherwise. If my father didn't spare me, his own son, who has never done a single bad deed in his entire life, what makes you think he spares someone like you? I mean, she has been pretty vicious for what it seems like no particular reason. Like, she didn't have to come at him like that. She's being pretty rude. Right now I'm always on the stance that we want to protect Raphael. So if someone's coming at him, I'm on his side. That's all I'm saying. Oh, jeez. His authoritative tone plunged the officers in silence, abruptly ending the argument. Ooh, hide behind the corner. Raphael can be like that too? She heard footsteps approaching. You have learned interesting information about Raphael. Your relationship has improved. How did that improve my relationship? Last time, He would have been upset if we had overheard information about him. This time won't be upset that we know more information. I don't understand. I guess he wasn't upset by the time we had broken into his room. I guess it depends on timing. When he knows us more. Nervous about nervous about running into anyone from that unpleasant conversation. Melody hurried away, taking her new questions with her. Alright, I'll look for Mikkel somewhere else. Lost in thought, Melody nearly missed Mikkel quietly descending the stairs. Oh, there you are, buddy. Good morning, Melody. Oh, Mikkel, just the man I'm looking for. He stopped and looked at her from above. I wanted to talk to you too. But you go first. I have to head out for a while if there are no urgent tasks for me. Of course. Should I ask someone to accompany you? The unusual suggestion reminded her that she needs to be cautious. Yeah. I can't even imagine who would be suitable to accompany me. This is David Seifel. We'll go with that. Oh, he would definitely agree to go anywhere just to get out of hanging around here. Though he'd be so into it that we end up quickly trading roles. And then I will be the one nudging him to go back home. There's no need. I know exactly who I'm meeting with. And we don't need any extra ears. Well, then don't take too long. I'm gonna need you tonight. Tonight? She had to bring up the subject of the work schedule after all. Thank you. Please tell me about this work schedule. Speaking of evening and night assignments, this is not an assignment. Then what is it? You've had too much on your plate lately, and I'd like to show you that our work is not all trouble and danger. Okay. Melody didn't understand what he was getting at. She moved closer and tilted her head up. And here I was planning to talk to you about trouble and danger tonight. Mikkel slowly descended the steps. He stood very close to her. I'm certainly glad you're not packing your bags and cursing the day you set foot in Astrea. But at this rate, I'm afraid that day will inevitably come. Talking in the hallway made the conversation move too quickly. It didn't have the right vibe. Still, Melody had to bring up a subject that was important to her. I'm afraid that all the dangers I've faced here have more to do with me than Astrea. Is there something I should know? Trying not to let anything slip, Melody beat around the bush. Well, you already know that all the followers of this beast are trying to kill me, right? At least the ones we've met. Of course, you mean Philip and Ethan. There's another one, but I can't talk about that yet. Seeing her hesitation, Mikkel changed the subject again. Let's talk about this tomorrow. After all, I have something to tell you as well. But tonight I have to attend a private soiree, and I'd like you to accompany me. An evening with Mikkel? Yeah, that's interesting. The chance to observe her boss outside of work was too tempting to pass up. Because I feel like we've been getting a lot of scenes with everybody else, but not as many scenes with him. You know, they're like really limited. It feels like we should be getting picked up by a carriage and take us to a ball. Mikkel says that your mind often wanders, and he finds it amusing. It has to be. This girl is always off in Fantasyland. It's hilarious. Melody hastily wiped a smile from her face. What are we gonna do there? It'll be a private soiree for enthusiasts of all kinds of valuable things. We'll just relax and try to find out where the item we're interested in might be. So it's like an auction? Something very expensive? I would even say it's priceless. Let's see what we can learn. Melody glanced at the clock and realized with horror that she was running late. Uh-oh. I was just about to ask about that. Mikkel saw her reaction and hurried to end the conversation. If you don't manage to find free time by the evening, go there directly. The event will take place in the banquet hall of the Sacraterra Hotel. It starts at 10. Mikkel gave her a quick look and smiled. You always look impeccable. I probably don't need to mention the dress code. Is that a flirty face? But I'll allow myself to the liberty to say that I can't wait to see you in an evening gown. Melody blushed and nodded. I understand about the dress code. And you're kind of my boss, so this is slightly inappropriate, but that's okay. And about your desires, too. Okay, girl. Calm down. Alright. See you tonight, Melody. After saying goodbye, Melody rushed to the courtyard. She's such a goober. I love her. A black car with tinted windows was already parked near the detective agency. Malik was leaning against the hood and curiously examining the mansion. He only averted his eyes from the bedroom windows when Melody stopped next to him. Sorry, I'm a bit late. Ignoring her apology, Malik glanced at her over her shoulder and smiled. Your pet? Confused as to what he meant, Melody turned around. The wolf was creeping toward the car with a menacing stare. Malik, I better get in the car. Yes, it's fine. Melody exchanged a glance with the wolf and suddenly felt calm. The pet sat next to her, watching the man warily, but showing no more signs of aggression. Okay. What's the name of this marvel? Indeed, what is it? Have we named it yet? Oh! His name is Axel, as of all my pet names. It's a funny reason why I name everyone, all my pets, Axel. I probably... I shouldn't mention it. You know, it's okay. I'll talk about it another time. I see you're adapting rather well. Is he talking about the agency? Oh. He didn't like you being snarky. Can you tell him to lie down? I doubt it. Malik tore his gaze away from the wolf and looked at Melody with much less interest. I'm afraid we can't take him with us. So unless you plan on giving him a command to eat me, say goodbye to him and let's go. Malik's commanding tone reminded her of her unfortunate position. It annoyed her. He hasn't even done anything for me yet. Me ordering you around is a bit annoying. It's okay, Axel. I'll be back soon. And if I'm not, you go give him a little nibble. The wolf gave Malik a suspicious look, then stood obediently and turned toward the house. If we settle in the garden, I should ask Cassio to help get him set up. Yeah. Before getting to the car, Melody decided to tell the professor about her plans anyway. So, as not to waste your time, I'm going to come right out and say it. I need you to ask my patient a few questions. And I'll understand if you find that unacceptable. The professor opened the car door for her and nodded, inviting her to get in. There are not many things in this world that I would find unacceptable. Get in, Melody. Taking this as agreement, Melody obediently stepped closer. Where are we going? To the hospital to see a client of mine. We'll talk there. Malik closed the car door behind Melody, then got into the driver's seat. I hope I'm doing the right thing. Do they use this music a lot in other stories? Because I swear I've heard this before. Like maybe like Chasing You or something. It's what they use this music a lot, I think. Anyway, the reception area greeted its guests with familiar sounds. Melody had always been struck by the peculiarity of hospitals. Faces changed within their walls, but the voices were always the same. The indignant complaint, weary from waiting too long, the anxious whisper uttering dire diagnosis, the clueless murmur of those confused about directions and offices. And at the center of it all was the ever unflappable nurse, who had perhaps seen too much in her lifetime. Reminds me of Code Blue. Wait, here. Was it Nurse Trin? The hospital corridors gave her a wave of nostalgia. Do I want to return to Goodland? No. But what should I answer? I'm still mad they threw her under the bus. They didn't even try to look into it. I don't know. I don't like the idea of it. If we're going with my answer is no. Faith. So is skeptic yes? Why? After everything that happened within those walls, it's unlikely I want to go back there. With a radiant smile, Malik easily caught the older woman's attention. He slid some documents under the window and introduced himself. I'm here to see my client, Arthur Cladis. I need his medical records and a pass. Melody couldn't believe her ears. She barely resisted the urge to run to the professor and snatch the file out of his hands. He's going to see my patient? And he's bringing me? I thought I asked you to ask the questions. I don't think she should be anywhere near there. As she waited for Malik to finish the paperwork, Melody spoke as quietly as possible. Am I really allowed to be here? Not sharing her concern at all, Malik replied a bit louder than usual. Why are you whispering, Melody? Because we're not supposed to meet. Is Arthur giving you some kind of restraining order? No, but then I don't see the problem. Yeah, of course you don't. You like when people are uncomfortable. And that will make both of us very uncomfortable, not to mention his family if they're here. Not knowing what to do next, Melody trudged after the professor. Should I write down my questions for him or what? Should I ask something else, more to get his attention than out of curiosity? How long will he be under medical supervision? As far as I know, Arthur suffered multiple fractures. His bones practically shredded his internal organs. And whether he'll be going to prison or to the morgue remains to be seen. But in any case, he certainly will be leaving on his own 2 feet. So you can ask him all your questions yourself. He won't run away from you this time. Yeah, but he also might not answer. Myself? The very thought of meeting her patient again made her heart sink to her stomach. And also, it's like, buddy, I get that you like to make people uncomfortable and you don't care about emotions or anything like that. You know what? This is about like what he used to say about watching those cases like on death row, something like that. It gives me that vibe. Like he's feeding off of my like desperation and fear and discomfort, and it's really kind of gross. Melody knew that Arthur was bedridden and probably couldn't even lift a finger, but storyline's taking us this way, so we don't really have a choice. There's no time for fear. I need answers, so I want to stop this strange hunt. If you really can arrange it and security lets me in, then I'm ready. The professor's face showed paternal pride. Determination is a wonderful trait. How old are you, buddy? Actions worthy of respect are taken, not endlessly pondered, right? There was no more time for talk or doubt. Malik stopped outside the ward. He held the papers to the policeman on duty at the door. He nodded at Melody and said calmly, "My assistant. I'm useless without her." The guard shrugged and stepped aside to let Malik through. Melody followed behind. Not very secure now, is it? Mournful silence filled the small room, broken only by the beeping of life support machines. Can he even talk? Melody thought that the meeting person who had attacked her would shake her emotional stability, but she felt only one emotion: pity. And then she saw the terrifyingly emaciated figure and lifeless face. God, what happened to him? Arthur tore his eyes away from the ceiling and slowly turned his head toward the newcomers. He immediately fixed Melody with a look full of hatred. You know what? Screw you too, buddy. That's off. His face turned red and his head shook, but his body remained still. This was a stupid idea. He won't answer any of my questions. That's what I said. Malik glowered as if the insult had been directed at him personally and stepped closer to the patient. Watch your mouth, Arthur. Your future depends on it. Arthur's expression changed instantly. He forgot about Melody and turned all his attention to Malik. You're Malik's sinner. No! What was he about to say before you interrupted him? I'm here to conduct a forensic psychiatric examination. Because he could have said, you're the guy in charge of my case, sure, but he also could have been about to say something different. The beast, perhaps? An examination? Of me? Think of it as a test to help me determine if you deserve to remain a member of this society. Arthur swallowed nervously and blinked rapidly. I didn't know you were coming. How could I not come, Arthur? You committed a terrible act. You have to answer for it. Stunned, Melody looked from Arthur to Malik, trying to understand the professor's strange behavior. It's like, Is he intimidating Arthur to keep him from lying? Arthur looked so pitiful that she found herself forgetting her own fears. It's not my fault. Arthur almost whimpered as he looked at Melody, then quickly back at Malik. I'm not guilty. We'll be the ones to determine that, Arthur. Melody's going to ask you some questions now. Answer wisely and don't stoop to insults. Do you understand? Yes. Okay. Keeping the intimidating expression on his face, Malik turned to Melody. You have 5 minutes. What do I ask? Oh. Let's start with this one. Arthur glanced at Malik and swallowed nervously. Can I answer that question? Is he afraid that admitting he knows that murderer will bury him? You control your own tongue, Arthur. Say whatever you think is necessary. You don't have to answer. It's clear that you know each other. What do I ask? Okay, if we can ask them all, then usually the last choice ends the conversation. Okay, so we want to know all the rest of it. Let's find out what he knows about this. I only know the most important thing. He is leading us in the only right direction. Okay, so he does know about the beast, and he is following the beast's directions. So he is directly connected. Where to? Where there's no place for you and your kind. What is my kind? Because it was necessary. For whom? The whole world. You should be grateful for this honor. No. Gee, thanks. Okay. Did the beast tell you to kill me? The awareness in Arthur's voice was replaced by fanatical adoration. The beast doesn't speak. He commands. Did he also command you to jump out the window? No, I jumped because another voice got into my head. Whoa! More voices? It told me not to touch you. Another voice? A wonderful story, Arthur, but you'll have to tell it a little differently in court. Why'd you cut him off? Of course, I understand. I wonder if you realize that Malik isn't on your side. We don't know that he's on yours either, sweetheart. Ignoring the timid voice of her conscience, Melody considered her next question, but the professor gestured to the door. I need to speak to Arthur alone. Not daring to take advantage of Malik's kindness, he nodded. I mean, we got some good information there. Because we found a hint that there's something else, potentially someone else involved here. So that's pretty good. And we know he is confirmed to be directly connected to the other people, following the same person. And there's someone else who's someone trying to protect me or something like that. That's definitely something to ponder. Melody sat in an uncomfortable chair in the reception area and began to think. So Arthur, unlike his fellow believers, heard a second voice. Is this good and evil were battling within him that day? Second voice. I wonder it's because he was the only one that actually got close to, killing her. Whereas the other times there was always someone else there to help me out, so it wasn't quite as close of a call. I mean, that Ethan one was pretty close, but both David and Felonia are superhuman, so they're definitely super fast. Molly imagined an angel and a demon pulling the poor man in different directions. My parents would be thrilled if they knew what I was thinking about. At least now I have something to tell Mikkel. The cult is real, and all the victims were chosen for a reason. Of all the information gleaned from her conversation with Arthur, Melody received only the dubious news of the second voice. I don't even know if I should take this seriously. You have to. She felt a pang of disgust when she realized that she would have to repay Malik for his meager confirmation of her suspicions. What kind of story about my life am I going to have to tell him? The usual hum of the hospital was interrupted by a shrill voice. Let me guess. The mother. How dare you come here? Molly jumped out of her chair. She recognized these people instantly, even though she had never met them before. A couple was walking toward her, her patient's parents. The woman, spitting in anger, approached her quickly. Her shouts drew everyone's attention. What are you doing here? Torturing my son wasn't enough, was it? Ignoring the staff's feeble attempts to calm her, the woman only grew more enraged. To people like you, a human life is worthless, isn't it? You drove Arthur to suicide and you're happy about it, you filthy witch. Hearing the commotion, Malik emerged from the room. He joined the gathering crowd of onlookers with curiosity. Well, what am I supposed to say to that? Blame him, ask her to calm down. Asking people to calm down, it's always rough. Anyway, stay silent. I don't think we need to speak up. I don't think blaming Arthur is going to do us any favors here, though. So we're going to have to ask her to remain calm. Even though I don't approve. Stop yelling. You're not on the street. You're in a hospital. Oh, never mind. I approve. If you want to talk, let's step outside. Oh, she said catch me outside. Let me stop. I gotta stop. The crowd, appreciating Melody's words, murmured in approval and then directed their displeasure at the furious woman. Oh, I got the crowd. As she approached, the woman hissed venomously. I'll spend every penny to get justice. You belong in jail. The court will decide who belongs in jail. The woman threw up her hands in frustration and turned to her husband. We trusted her with our son, and instead of helping him, she destroyed him. You snake, they should investigate all your previous patients. Arthur may not be your only victim. Unable to listen any longer, Melody tried to move past the couple, but the woman blocked her path. Excuse me? Where do you think you're going? You told me you didn't want me here. Now you don't want me to leave? I don't understand. You're not even talking to me anymore. You just walked off and stumped off and started talking to your husband. You look like a psycho. Did we not tell you to calm the freak down? The woman grabbed Melody's arm and yanked her roughly towards herself. She touched me first. Punch her in the face. No. That's all I was waiting for. She touched me first. Confirmed by a whole crowd. This woman and her entire family are violent. There you go. You know what? Don't punch her back. This is enough evidence. I'm telling you. This only adds to it. Like, just keep this in mind, okay? These people are violent. Melody clenched her jaw in pain and snarled through her teeth. Don't embarrass yourself. Keep it together. Malik appeared behind the woman. Behind? Did you enjoy the show? Mrs. Cladis, I think you've said enough. Let go of her. Professor Center? The woman hesitated. She clearly hadn't expected to meet the man upon whom her son's freedom depended. Her grip loosened and Melody managed to break free. Professor Center, this is the wretch who tried to kill my son. She's snooping around here like a rat. Apparently, the quarrel no longer impressed the professor. Enough. But that's also confirmation that he also probably knew that they might be around here, and he wanted to watch the mayhem. Spend this time with your son while he still has it. The woman grew deathly pale. She tried to ask what was wrong with him, but after receiving no answer, she rushed to the ward. The other visitors in the reception area also dispersed. Wonderful. Hopefully someone had a phone out. Maybe we can get some of that footage. Eager to change the subject. Although it's probably not great that I'm here, though. So, toss up on that one. Eager to change the subject, Melody was ready to talk about her childhood anywhere and to anyone. Did you talk to Arthur? Malik nodded slightly, then suddenly smiled. You handled yourself well, Melody. Unsure about what exactly Malik was praising her for, she smirked bitterly. As if I can afford to behave like her in my situation. I doubt you would stoop to such behavior in any situation. Okay. Melody saw nothing commendable in it. I should have put her in her place. Yeah, as much as it would have been fun to punch her in the face, it's better that we let her act like a fool and we don't. I see you don't share my enthusiasm. I usually don't. I have to keep quiet because no one will back me up. She feels like a victim, so she allows herself to be rude and violent. Oh, Melody. Some people should find a better use for their heads than thinking nasty things and being rude. Trust me, she's gonna lose her sooner or later. Would that make you happy? She just outright dies? I don't know how happy that would make me. Kind of feel like nasty people should be actually like have some punishment that reflects that, you know what I mean? Actually deal with it, maybe. I don't know. But definitely not. I don't know. I don't think I would wish for someone's death. To know something that made me happy. That would never do it for me. I think I would be happy if they left me alone. Is this reputation or faith versus skeptic, you think? I don't care exactly why or how it happens. Okay, faith versus skeptic. So skeptic, you would say. You want her to. Oh, interesting. Goodness. I'm learning more and more about the skeptic path. How interesting. To avoid looking completely pathetic, Melody waved a hand dismissively. Alright, you can understand their perspective. They're worried about their son. Of course, you can try to understand anyone, Melody. Especially if you get some kind of perverse pleasure out of figuring out someone's dirty mind. But you must never forgive rudeness. They hardly need my forgiveness, and I doubt there would be any good in it. Malik smiled at some thought of his, then whispered conspiratorially. That's right, Melody. There is no forgiveness. And I'm glad you share my point of view. Malik opened the hospital doors and let her go ahead. Without even asking where they were going next, she immediately followed him to the car. You know what? Anywhere is better than here. Okay, back to his office. As suspected, Malik drove her to his office. The professor decided to save all conversation for later, so they walked through the corridor in silence. I wonder, is this the music for his office? This is the music that we were playing last time we were talking to him, right? It kind of has like this somber, slightly... What's the word for it? Uneasy tone to the music. I wonder, it's kind of like his little thing. The professor decided to save all conversation for later, so he decided to walk through the corridor in silence. The same reception... Ah! My nose is filling up. Oh my god. The same receptionist Melanie had seen last time greeted Malik with unspeakable adoration. I know what it was like to be in love with your boss. You're gonna find out. The receptionist's feelings hardly resemble love, more like an unhealthy attachment, but in a way, Melody could understand her. Yeah, because you're lusting after your boss. When you're attracted to someone, their position no longer matters. It still does, but in your mind it no longer matters. This time, Malik didn't invade her personal space. Instead, he immediately sat down in his chair. Would you like anything? So hurry up and get out. No, thank you. I don't need anything. In that case, let's not waste time. Malik leaned back in his chair and crossed his arms. He gazed thoughtfully at Melody's tense face. I get the feeling that if he could get his answers any other way, he'd easily crack my skull open right here and now. You're probably right. What faith did your parents practice? For some reason, the question didn't surprise her. Consider what they did. I've heard that question dozens of times. I was brought up in the Christian tradition. I don't recall Christianity preaching mass suicide. You'd be surprised. So we're going to talk about religion. What happened has nothing to do with religion. I don't know where to go with this one. Oh. What would be faith? uh. Wow, this is probably the toughest one there's ever been. I can't decide either way. What happened? Are we going to talk about? So we're going to talk about religion. What happened has nothing to do with religion. I mean, the last one seems kind of snappy, and usually snappy is skeptic. Or the last one, what happened has to do with religion, can kind of be like defending religion, so it could be faith. And the first question could be sarcastic. It's like, so we're going to talk about religion now? I'm not sold. What happened has nothing to do with religion. I don't know what happened, nor if it had anything to do with religion. Let's go with this one. Oh, Lord. Melody couldn't understand why Malik wanted to have this trivial conversation. She couldn't shake the feeling that he was mocking her. Uh-oh. That's reading skeptic That's reading skeptic. I'm afraid it's been a while since I refreshed my memory about rereading the Bible. So you should find someone else to talk about to about this. Oh, that's so skeptic. Malik smiled in response to her obvious annoyance and drawled slightly. No, I've chosen the perfect person to talk to. I knew it. Once I heard the way she said it, I was like, that's skeptic. Too late now, though. It's okay. We can have one skeptic point. We've been doing pretty good. I thought you wanted to get to know Ruth better. Without answering the question, Malik tilted his head slightly and smiled. We were part of the same community. Malik's smirk widened. He gently interrupted her. Cult. Yes, cult. We were part of the same cult, but lived in different communes. Hers was in the southern part of the city. We became friends in college. What an interesting coincidence. Melody often wondered how that was possible, but she eventually decided that fate had brought them together to help them through their shared grief. So what did you leave inside the church walls that day? Faith. Malik straightened in his chair and leaned forward. That's not true. If you truly had it, you wouldn't have left it behind. After all, Ruth didn't abandon her faith. You keep returning to that day, but not because of that. Melody clenched her teeth and nodded. Yes, there are still questions left there. And to whom are they addressed? My mother. Satisfied, Malik leaned back again and continued. If you could talk to her, what would you say? Ask her why she called me on the phone. Ask her what she knows about the beast. It didn't take her long to find the answer within herself. Only on that fateful day, a question had pierced her heart like a sharp shard of glass. It had constantly reminded her of its existence over the years, timidly convincing her that some answers were better left unknown. Because if you pull the shard out, there's a good chance you'll end up bleeding to death. I would ask what was in that cup, poison or not. To find out who my mother was trying to deceive in the end, me or my father. In a colorless voice that expressed neither compassion nor mockery, Malik clarified. So you live your life not knowing whether to love or hate your mother. Melody pursed her lips and turned to the window. She was overwhelmed with emotion, but it was the anger directed at the professor that stood out the most. Do you enjoy provoking and stirring up conflicting feelings? Yeah, he does. Fine. What would you choose? Unlike her, the man didn't hesitate. I would choose both. And I let myself feel both emotions, regardless of what your mother did. You take everything from life, I remember. Smiling at her pathetic attempt to mock his worldview, Malik nonchalantly continued. Enjoy all the emotions, Melody. It's society that tries to impose the right emotions on you to suppress your nature. First to tame you, then to tie you up and make it easier to send you to the slaughterhouse when you're no longer needed. His predatory smile suddenly reminded her of her father. Interesting. The smile of someone absolutely convinced of their own rightness. Do you think your hands have been tied yet? His mocking gaze slid over her body as if trying to see ropes around her. Or maybe your legs? Goosebumps covered the parts of her body that his penetrating gaze touched. It was unpleasantly sharp like needles and cold like ice. Or perhaps the noose is already around your neck. Just one pull away from tightening it and I'd hear you wheeze. Melody could have sworn she saw a playful gleam in Malik's eyes. You like those kind of games? The thought made her feel awkward. I feel very awkward. Oh. Okay. Sure, we'll go with curious. But I feel awkward. Pi is ruthlessly associating with a very ambiguous person. He's very controversial and intriguing. Controversial personalities don't scare you. Nevertheless, conflicts between parents and children are a tale as old as time, and equally similar across the board. Do you have a childhood memory that is more vivid than this one? How could anything be more vivid? If a religious cult ending in its existence with poison and swat bullets isn't vivid enough, then no. The lie didn't even come close to hurting her conscience. Who's he to pry so brazenly into my soul? But vague images, though unspoken, began to rise from the depths of her memory. As a child, Melody disliked going down into the basement and tried to avoid it unless absolutely necessary. I thought this was the basement of the Astrea house. This is the basement from her childhood. Damp and dank and inspired only disgust and fear in her. And so she carried out any request from her mother to fetch or carry something there with incredible speed. In particularly frightening moments, she preferred to close her eyes for extra courage. But when strange noises started coming from the basement, curiosity triumphed over her childish fear. Her interest was further piqued when all basement-related chores suddenly stopped. And after a tentative question to her father at dinner, a lock appeared on the door. This bold move by her parents shrouded everything in a tantalizing haze of mystery. It blinded her and burned away all her apprehension. She was consumed by one desire, the thirst for knowledge. That night, Melody could not sleep. She listened to the sounds of soft squeaking that her father had explained were from bats. Curiosity drove her to the terrible crime of stealing. She snuck the key from her father's keychain in the dead of night, then lay awake until morning. That's when she first committed another sin, deceiving her parents. She pretended to be sick so she wouldn't have to go to service. As soon as her parents disappeared around the corner, she ran to the basement. She unlocked the door with trembling hands, lit her way with a feeble flashlight, and hurried down. A completely new, unfamiliar smell hit her nose. It was so revolting that she had to cover her nose with her hand. It smelled of blood, sweat, and excrement. The stale, stuffy air brought tears to her eyes. Hey, bats? Chains clinked in the darkest corner of the room. Biting her lip in anticipation, Melody directed the dim beam of light toward the sound. She couldn't hold back her scream. I don't know if I even want to take a picture of that. I've decided I don't. I really don't. Nope. Crawling on all fours, spider-like, a creature vaguely resembling a human moved toward her. Please, help me. Oh, that's what we heard on one of the earlier episodes. I still don't think I want a picture. Melody bit her cheek until it bled, stifling another scream. She took a step back. The creature stopped. It pulled the chains taut, and its metal collar dug into the pale skin of its thin neck. Save me, please. The voice was hoarse and weak. It trembled and cracked, making it hard to understand all the words. Animal fear clouded Melody's eyes. It turned the exhausted child into a dangerous beast, eager to tear the unexpected guest apart. Huh? The thunderous voice of her father instantly brought the little girl to her senses. Melody, where are you? For a moment she thought her father was speaking from above, watching her from the heavens. But the slamming of the front door indicated that he had simply returned home for some reason. This thought frightened her even more. The flashlight slipped from her shaking hands and rolled toward the creature, illuminating scrawny, dirty legs and skin covered with dried blood and bruises. The girl and the creature clutched the flashlight from either side. They stared at each other with dazed eyes. Don't leave. Don't you dare leave, you little brat. Terror burned in the monster's eyes. It released its grip and grabbed Melody by the hair, pulling her toward itself, but it was too weak. Melody barely managed to free herself. She fell to the floor. The flashlight that had rolled away illuminated deep, thin grooves on the floor, filled with blackened bloodstains. Blackened. The creature's fingers traced across them as well. Breaking its long claws, it scratched at the concrete, trying to get out. This isn't real. Melody squinted and stumbled towards stairs, trying to chase away the nightmare that had come true. The creature howled. Driven by the horrifying sounds, Melody ran upstairs and by some miracle did not trip. Now I know it was a person. I mean, it kind of looked like a person, and maybe in her mind she thought of it as a monster. And I think they just had somebody locked up there. And the monsters were all of us living above her head. Pushing the memory away, Melody focused on Malik again. She tried to steer the conversation in the right direction and end it. I hope I've satisfied your curiosity. You managed to pique it a bit more, but I like that outcome even better. Not sure how to respond to that statement, Melody asked. Does that mean we're even, of course? Until your next request. I don't know if I'll be making them to you anymore. Melody nodded and stood up. Malik followed suit. If you have no plans for the evening, we can stop at a nice restaurant on the way to Astrea. I do have plans, though. Melody's eyes widened in surprise, but she quickly regained her composure. I'm busy tonight. I'm going to a soiree at the Sacro Hotel. You gonna tell them all that? Confused as to why she was justifying herself, Melody bit her lip. Interesting. Before she could ask what was so interesting about it, Malik headed for the door. In that case, please come to the car. I'll drive you back. Once home, Melody decided not to waste a little time she had. She found out what time Mikkel would be waiting for her, then went to an online store to pick out an appropriate outfit for the evening. She ordered several options to choose from. Okay, I bought everything. I hope. Oh, that's how it works. Unlike David, Mikkel didn't rush into the room to fetch his companion. He had told her in advance what time he would be waiting for her at the car. Melody twirled in front of the mirror and smiled in approval. Perfect. 30 minutes remained before their meeting. At first, Melody wanted to check the news. She was worried about finding an article with a picture of her from the hospital, but then she remembered her protector. Axel approached Malik to make sure he wasn't threatening me. She really wanted to thank that amazing creature somehow. Maybe I should bring him a piece of meat, at least? He must be hungry, wandering around in the garden. I didn't let him eat Malik, after all. Melody grabbed a hefty piece of raw meat from the kitchen and hurried out into the garden. I hope David wasn't planning on making a steak for dinner. She immediately ran into an unexpected problem. How do I even find him? Without much thought, she inhaled deeply and shouted, Axel, are you here? I think that's the first time we've seen her shouting face. It's not as scary as the one from Heaven's Secret 1, but it's definitely something. Oh Lord. Okay. It's not too bad. The garden was filled with various sounds. Insects, birds, and even trees carried out quiet conversations. But among all those sounds, she didn't hear melodies howl or growl. Melodies. Should it be Axel's there? After wandering around the garden for a while longer, she glanced at her watch. Crap, I don't have time. I have to run into the car. Staring at the piece of meat in her hands, she realized how ridiculous she looked. Ruth would laugh if she saw me now. Wearing such a nice dress and high heels, carrying a raw meat around the garden, calling out for a wolf. I need to put the gift somewhere that Axel can find it. Put it near the statue or hide it in the bushes. Last time, I think when we hid in the bushes, he came out from the bushes to help us. And leaving it near the statue, that's kind of where Cassiel sits all the time. Somehow I feel like he wouldn't be amused. It's kind of rude to just plop a piece of meat that might go bad next to where people sit anyway. Let's put it in the bush. Well, that's also pretty bad. Hopefully the wolf will find it pretty soon. Melanie moved deeper into the garden. She placed a modest gift in the low grass near a thick bush. What are you doing in there? Speak of the devil, he popped out almost immediately. If we had left it on that bench, he'd probably be fuming. What are you doing in there? The booming voice made her jump. God, Casso, you scared me. I'd kill you if I could. I'm leaving for the wolf. The young man looked at the piece of meat and snickered. Do you think he can't feed himself? It's a gift. How sweet. Did he actually smile? Cassio likes that you care about the animal. With the question of the gift settled, Cassio turned his attention to the evaluator's unusual outfit. He frowned at a thought, but said nothing. What was I going to ask him? Cassio had already decided that the conversation was over, and he walked toward the house. Melody started again, finally remembering the question she had. Cassio, wait, please. I have a favor to ask of you. All Cassio's emotions were instantly visible on his face. Don't be rude. As if I asked him for things so often. What happened now? I wanted to ask you to help me build a kennel for the wolf. Is this some kind of joke? Melody's enthusiasm quickly waned. When there was nothing left of it but embarrassment, a belated idea struck her. Actually, you know what? Forget it. I'll order a big dog kennel online. Or one for a pony. Hoping he hadn't heard that last part, she tried to slip away. You being a jerk, okay? Just trying to build a home for my friendo. Melody turned and stared gloomily at the laughing young man. I like him much better with a stern face. I like him with a smile. I don't think he needs a kennel. I get it. You know a lot about wolves. Can I go now? But I'll make one. Really? Really? I can't promise that your wolf will use it, but I'm sure even the wildest beast can appreciate a little care. Are we referring to you now? Thank you. Okay, I'm playing on a different save file here, and he said something a little bit different. He's like, I think you can do it, tame it, even the wildest beast. That's a little bit different from what he said before. And I think on this save file, I was romancing everybody. So I feel like he said that because I was romancing him. Cassio smiled warmly and headed towards the house, leaving her with a strange feeling. I think I'm actually starting to get attached to this place. Worried that Mikhail might leave without her, Melody quickened her pace. This time there was no taxi near Astrea, but what was likely a company car. The shiny, polished vehicle looked impressive, but it was the driver who drew all of her attention. David leaned leisurely against the hood and greeted his passenger with a smile. Choose the outfit David will wear? What? Oh, goodness. Buddy. What is this? No, not basically. What is this? What is this? I can't. Listen, I'm sure that's fun. Listen. I can't do it. I can't take it seriously. I can't. As if by habit, he assessed her outfit and gave a content smile. You are dazzlingly beautiful. Planning to break some hearts tonight? Maybe. And tonight, you are? Your humble servant. I'll take you to the hotel and back, making sure no one steals you along the way. What about Mikkel? Mikkel's running late. Well, let's wait. David, almost sitting on the hood of the car now, he looked up at the rustling treetops. Then he turned his eyes back to Melody. Aren't you cold? The evening chill was not conducive to long walks under the moon, but the short await was pleasantly refreshing. I'm fine. If you're cold, I can give you my jacket, or you can wait for Mikkel in the car. You don't really have a jacket right now, it's okay. We stay. Oh. We're doing the classic interview style. I'll stay. It's not that cold outside. David smiled at her decision. He made himself more comfortable in the hood and turned his thoughtful gaze to the building's facade. He's unusually quiet today. I hope nothing's wrong with him. So would he be in the other outfit in these pictures? I wouldn't be able to take him seriously. I couldn't. Not used to being the one to pick the topic of conversation with David, Melody hesitated. How can we pass the time? Compliment him? This car becomes you, and so does the suit. It looks very impressive. Oh, thank you. I wouldn't say I put much effort into getting ready for this event. His words were confirmed by the uneven collar of his shirt. Just fix the collar and it'll be perfect. Melody reached over and gently adjusted the fabric. David caught her hand so she couldn't pull away. Maybe we should just forget about this soiree? Melody stepped in a bit closer and whispered conspiratorially. Are you suggesting that we run away? The warmth of his hands was nice. She wanted to feel it all over her, to press against his chest. I'm afraid Mikkel won't appreciate it if I don't show up at this party. You're too beautiful for these stuffy events. Do you think I look more appropriate at a club in this outfit? David squeezed her hands a little tighter and smiled apologetically. Why don't I take you somewhere where it's just the two of us? Anywhere you want. You're quite the schemer. I promise to behave myself. I wish I could make the same promise. Oh! Fighting her own demons, Melody moved her hands a little lower. She felt the beating of his heart. It was too fast for someone who had promised total restraint. How are we going to look Mikkel in the eye later? He'll arrive and we won't be here. We don't have to come back. His unexpectedly serious tone distracted her from her playful thoughts. So what will we do? Open a small law firm? We'll do whatever you want. So selfless. What about your own desires? I'm sure they align with yours. David's behavior felt like a devilish temptation. Devilish, eh? Like a test to be passed. Stop messing with my head. David wasn't keeping her there by force. He let go of her hands as soon as she tried to pull away. David sighed heavily as he realized that there was no choice and that his scheme would go unsupported. Well, I tried to save us. From what? We need to remember that line. That might come back to bite us. If you hear someone shouting in the background, my husband is going crazy in there with his freaking friends. They're playing online something, I don't know. Mel thought about this unusually starry sky, unsure how to start the conversation. David willingly followed her lead, tilting his head back. Time seemed to move faster in the silence, cloaked in a dark blanket of glittering specks. Unable to think of anything to ask, Millie let her mind wander. At some point, her thoughts got lost among the stars, leaving a pleasant blankness in her head. Are you waiting for one to fall on our heads? She took her eyes up the sky and looked at David. That would be nice. Then I can make a wish. Molly saw skepticism on his face for the first time, but she couldn't help but ask. Don't you want to? Oh, I certainly don't do that kind of thing. You don't think it will come true? On the contrary, I know for a fact that wishes have a way of coming true. His strange perspective added a mystery she wanted to unravel. Who would turn down such a simple way to fulfill their deepest desire? So you don't like to ask? I can't even remember the last time I asked for something. So self-sufficient. I don't think stars ask for anything in return, so your pride won't be hurt. David smiled sadly and explained his point of view. It's not about pride, there's nothing wrong with asking, but to truly enjoy what you desire, you have to put your own effort into getting it. Otherwise, everything loses its value. Melody was taken aback. She hadn't expected this sort of outlook from someone so easygoing and fun-loving. I know. Same here. David noticed her hesitation and smiled. You thought I was one of those people who doesn't know what they want but dreams of having it all? It felt shameful to admit that he was right. He is. I thought you took everything out of life. No, I'm very selective. Especially with my desires. I'm sure there's a story behind that. There is. And it's the story of my family. A story of unbridled passion and unquenchable thirst. Your father knew no limits? True, but that's not the point. The point is that all of his desires were fulfilled, but others had to pay the price for them. She couldn't get David to share more. After those words, he only seemed to retreat deeper into himself. Then I'll support you. And even if a star falls, I won't make a wish. Appreciating her sacrifice, David found a compromise. I am personally willing to grant any wish you may have. Oh no, don't even start. I'm more reliable than some stars. Say yes. Melody nodded, more to distract him than out of any serious agreement. It's pretty hard to refuse that. Just remember, you only have one wish. Use it wisely. David now owes you a wish. Tonight, David would rather have your company than anyone else's. He's a cutie pie. I don't know how he grew on me. As far as she could tell, David had prepared for the upcoming evening as much as she had. His well-ironed suit fit him perfectly, highlighting his toned physique. Refined soirees suit you better than basement clubs. Really? I hate them. They're deathly boring. And the food is terrible. And everyone's ego is so inflated that even I get lost in them. Yeah, you're going. I think I've done something wrong, so Mikkel is dragging me along. David's humorous description made her less eager to go. That Mikkel. He told me I was going to relax. He was lying through his teeth. You'll see. He's probably bringing you along so he doesn't die of boredom himself. Even if David's warnings were serious, Melody would still have gone to the soiree. Did I buy this dress for nothing or what? Do you often attend parties like these? Too often, I think. But it's always in vain. We never find the information we need. Maybe we'll get lucky this time? Anything's possible. Maybe you'll bring us luck. I hope it's good luck specifically. Alright. That was fun. After some hesitation, Melody decided to get in the car after all. Alright, away from Mikkel in the car. Of course, don't freeze, little witch. Not knowing how else to occupy herself, Melody began to let her gaze wander down the empty street. It was shrouded in the darkness of the approaching night. The unremarkable shadows cast by the dim street lights stretched and distorted beyond recognition. Trying to work out their true nature, Melody lingered on an unusual shape that stood still like a strange statue. Maybe a tree? I don't see anything in the background. In response to her thoughts, the shape twitched and grew larger. From above, Melody saw a silhouette slowly emerge from the shadows and move toward her. Who could that be? I thought I just got in the car! The dark mass was distinguished by its eyes. She could swear they were staring at her. David? She jumped out of the car and almost collided with Mikkel, who had finally arrived. What's going on, Melody? She couldn't point out the cause of her strange behavior. The silhouette she had just seen had vanished. What was that? There was definitely someone there. I don't want to overthink it, but I know what I saw. And it didn't look like a friendly passerby. There was someone there. A person. David followed her gaze. He walked toward the darkness without further questions. Melody felt guilty as she watched him go. She hurried to justify herself to Mikkel. She stammered and stared at her ever-serious boss. What? Okay, I like this. I don't know. Mikkel didn't let her continue. He opened the car door for her and invited her to sit down. It never hurts to be cautious. Soon David returned. He shook his head in disappointment. Whoever was there left no trace. Mikkel pressed his lips together pensively, then waved his obviously heavy thoughts. Well, alright. Let's think about it when we return home. Melody sat down again. She scooted a little further away from the window, just in case, and stared at the dashboard. She didn't want to see those strange glowing eyes again. Was it the beast himself or someone else that he sent for me? The Secretarial Hotel was located on the outskirts of the city, hidden from prying eyes by tall pine trees. The elegant Gothic building was as dark and mysterious on the inside as it was on the outside. Melody tried not to gawk too much, trying to keep in line with her more composed companions. But every now and then she had to rein herself back in. Who owns something so beautiful? The guests in the lavish banquet hall fit right in. Like aristocrats jaded by all the world's pleasures, they held their chins high as they glided through the hall. They exchanged empty but pompous chatter, asked pointed questions, and drowned their boredom in crystal glasses filled with champagne. I wonder if Mikkel feels comfortable here. Melody inadvertently compared this place to the club David had taken her to on her second day in Astrea. She glanced toward the cheerful man in question. David held himself impeccably, showing no signs of boredom. Like a chameleon, he had taken on the atmosphere of the room and blended in with the crowd. His usually warm and open gaze had become critical and arrogant. So that's how I'm supposed to act here. And even here, everyone is different.
Hey.
Oh. One second. I got a message. Alright, that was my mom. Okay. Everything here is fake, sounds like skepticism. High society is like, even here, everyone is different. Maybe that one? Okay. When she looked closer, Melody could see some people with open, kind eyes. Oh, a double. Just like everywhere else. I'm gonna mingle with the local fauna. Don't forget to talk to the organizer. Mikkel watched David walk off, then turned to Melody. Let's step into the shadows. Okay. Melody settled by a painted wall and glanced at her pensive boss. I can talk to someone too if you explain exactly what we need to find out. Mikkel smiled at her enthusiasm but shook his head. None of us can do that better than David. We just need to enjoy the evening and wait for him to find someone who has the information we need. Melody quickly scanned a diverse crowd and spotted her colleague. Smiling radiantly, David was talking to an elderly woman who was captivated by his speech. What secrets is he trying to extract from her? Like I said, we're looking for a lost treasure. All these people are enthusiasts of a special kind of antiquity. What do you mean by special? Some of these items can undermine the foundations of society and make people doubt the integrity of historical events. Others can rewrite the past, and the rares can change the future. The only thing that comes to mind is a time machine. I'm afraid there's no such thing. Melody theatrically threw her hands in the air, attracting the attention of the overly inhibited guest. Where do you draw the line when it comes to faith? As soon as I start talking about something fantastic, you almost start doing a twirling motion next to your head. I'm beginning to think that I'm the crazy one here. Mikkel smiled and tilted his head slightly. Not me. This time, Melody decided not to fall for the all-too-obvious provocation. Not any of you mysterious residents of Astrea. Slowly, as if by an audible command, the guest began to pair off. She had no time to ask what was happening. The answer came in the form... Oh. No, the message I'll answer it later. The answer came in the form of music that cascaded down like a waterfall from somewhere above. Melody looked up to see a small orchestra perched on an inconspicuous balcony. This is really starting to feel like a ball. The guests shed some of their haughty arrogance and turned their eyes to their partners. Simple human joys suit them. The music beckoned even more. Melody tried to spot David in the crowd, but he seemed to have vanished. What a pity. Remembering that she was brought here to relax, she mustered the courage to ask, "Are we supposed to stand by the wall and wait for David? Is there nothing else we can do?" Mikkel smiled apologetically and hurried to redeem himself. My apologies, Melody, for dragging you here and getting caught up in observing. Of course, we can relax. Everyone here is harmless, as are their hobbies. You're completely safe. Okay, so what are our options? Unfortunately, we don't have that many. We can join the dance, or head to the buffet table. Or we could keep an eye on these completely harmless people. Alright, what should I choose? Let's dance, like to grab a bite, or wait for David. I feel like just waiting for David not necessarily needs to be a part of his path. I feel like dancing, especially with this music going on, probably be pretty romantic. So probably shouldn't snag that one. Okay, how about we do this? I'll grab a bite, and then I'll open up Mikkel's save file and do the dance. We'll do that. Let's start with the bite. Let's see what we have to choose from then. On a wide carved table, dishes were arranged in an unusual way. The color palette made it difficult to see what exactly was being skewered on thin sticks or served on small plates. Some kind of molecular gastronomy? Melody sniffed cautiously but couldn't detect any scents. What can I offer you? She didn't want to admit that she couldn't even guess the names of dishes in front of her. Melody already regretted inviting Mikhail to this table in the first place. She shrugged. Everything looks kind of strange and not particularly appetizing, but it's delicious. If only I actually knew what they were. Her boss noticed her confusion and hastened to help. I would recommend that you pay attention to these dishes here. Alright, let's see what Mikhail finds tasty. A praline sponge. A gold sphere. Carpaccio with foam. That looks like a soap bubble. I'll risk trying this. It's my favorite. Oh, which one is favorite? I wonder if he'll say that about any of them. You'll like it, I promise. Mikhail carefully picked up the plate and presented the treat to Melody. Tactfully, he averted his gaze so that he wasn't staring at her as she ate. But as soon as the piece of food reached her mouth, he glanced curiously back, waiting for her reaction. The strange texture froze on her tongue like a jelly that was impossible to chew. Bitterness followed the sickly sweetness, causing her cheeks to tense. God, it's disgusting. Oh no! Melody would have thought that Mikhail was messing with her if he hadn't followed suit and eaten the same thing. It was hard to believe that he consumed this awful dish so easily. Well, what do you think? Melody nodded. She tried to swallow the disgusting mess, but failed. Tears welled up in her eyes. After a moment's hesitation, Mikhail finally realized what was wrong. He handed her a paper napkin. Is it really that bad? She tossed it in the trash with the remnants and replied without embarrassment. You have very specific tastes. I don't even want to know what this is. Mikhail smiled guiltily and tried to suggest something else, but Melody hastily declined. Let's just go back instead. Of course, let's go. Thank you for your honesty. Oh, you're welcome. I just want to live a little longer in this world. I'm glad you had fun watching me eat that. And now we dance. Mikhail didn't show much emotion about her choice. He extended his open hand in a rather reserved manner, inviting the evaluator to join him in the dance. Melody held her breath and placed her hand in his. With a partner like this, I really do feel like a princess. Mikhail led her to the center of the hall, then he gently touched her waist and took the first step. He was too smooth and too careful. At first, Melody tried to avoid his eyes, but when she stuck a glance at him, she suddenly realized that he wasn't even looking at her. It seemed that this dance was just a part of his job. As he twirled her in a waltz, he continued to observe what was going on around them. He looked for familiar faces and noted the behavior of the guest. Seeing his lack of interest in her, Melody's fantasies fizzled out. She felt a surge of resentment. He brought me to this event to distract me, but he's using me as a cover to work. Her wounded pride easily and casually erased the boundaries of propriety. I want you to pay attention to me. She's like a child. A mischievous idea popped into her head. Melody was perfectly coordinated and never stumbled, even when learning to dance. That same feline grace allowed her to accidentally step on Mikhail's foot in a way that seemed quite natural. She dropped her eyes apologetically. Oh, sorry. Mikhail paused in his observations and looked at her questioningly. I got lost watching the guests around us and got distracted. Mikhail's lips twitched. Unable to suppress his smile, the boss went along with her playful mischief. Be more attentive, Melody. Don't get distracted from your partner while you dance. Of course, I won't do it again. As if in retaliation for her insolence, Mikhail held her tighter. He pulled her closer with a gentle tug. It wasn't enough to attract curious glances, but enough for the sharp cold of his eyes to penetrate her skin. I'll lead so you don't stumble again, alright? I will obediently follow in your lead. The polished, melancholic melody suddenly matched their playful mood, shifting to sensual, lively sounds. Following the music, Mikhail quickened his pace. He navigated the hall swiftly but smoothly, deftly maneuvering between other couples. The pace quickened, but her feet didn't falter, as if anticipating his every step. Or perhaps it was Mikhail who kept her from making a mistake. You're full of surprises. Like a bottomless ocean with a million secrets, calm and dangerous. But tonight, its eternal calm was replaced by waves that echoed the rising music. They grew higher and stronger. What will happen if the ocean roars? Mikhail squeezed her waist and pressed her against his chest. And then her feet were off the floor and the background was spinning around with her. The paintings on the walls depicting the sky suddenly came to life, creating the sensation of being airborne. Her hands instinctively landed on the shoulders of the man who was guiding this flight. She held on tightly. But it didn't last long. Mikhail gently lowered her back to the ground, then took her hand in his and stepped back. She was almost gasping for breath, either from the pace or her overwhelming emotions, but she didn't want to interrupt the dance. This is how you should distract yourself from work, Mikhail. But unlike the dancers, the melody knew exactly when to stop. On the final chord of the enchanting music, Mikhail pulled Melody toward him abruptly and moved her hand aside. Feeling more submissive than she had ever felt in her life, Melody obediently complied. Arching her back as his strong arms commanded her to, she raised her head to look up at the dark blue ceiling, almost like a night sky. Unable to resist, Mikhail glanced curiously at her exposed neck. So delicate, so vulnerable at this particular moment. He allowed himself a quick glance just below her collarbones, and to quickly rid himself of temptation, he pulled Melody back too. The sky was replaced by the ice of his eyes once more, making her dizzy. Melody had no idea why he was frowning. She freed herself from him and stepped back. Thank you for the dance. Mikhail shook his head and smiled serenely, shaking off what was an unusually lively emotion for him. Thank you, Melody. You were wonderful. Taking an unusual liberty in looking at you. Okay. Interesting. When the music faded to nothing more than a distant backdrop to the soft chatter of a dozen voices, David returned. Next to him was a man that Melody had not expected to see here at all. Well, you did tell him that you were going to be here. Now, he might have already been planning on being here, but saying that he invited you to dinner, maybe not. What is he doing here? As she met his gaze, Melody couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. Ignoring her silent question, Malik first extended his hand to Mikhail. Malik Center, the hotel owner who agreed to host these entertaining soirees. This is yours? The brief handshake was followed by insincere smiles, and then came a rather unexpected sentence. And by the way, a close friend of your charming evaluator. A close friend? Close, huh? Especially since I told you myself where I'd be tonight. Playing along with a less than ideal surprise, Malik nodded. And a very pleasant one. Another smirk was added to all the fake pleasantries that hovered over their little company. Well, I can play along. After all, this is neither the best place nor the time to discuss our strange relationship. Now that the focus had shifted back to her colleagues, Melody cast a subtle glance at the professor. She wondered why he had mentioned that he owned his hotel before. He decided to surprise me. But as soon as he started talking about something else, Malik lost all interest in the evaluator. Somehow, the conversation veered towards Astrea. I have to be honest, I didn't even know about your organization until recently. And if it wasn't for Melody, I probably wouldn't have known right this moment. Our work is quite niche. That's an understatement. Melody tried to detect traces of sarcasm in his voice, but the professor spoke with respect and unmistakable curiosity. After I learned a little more about you, I must admit that I became interested. It is not every day that one meets ghost hunters. We are called many things, but none of those definitions really capture your essence, right? Mikhail answered for David. His voice was cold and distant. Right. He obviously wasn't interested in exchanging pleasantries. You don't organize events like this for no reason, do you? Would you like to know if I'm a connoisseur of antiques myself? Yes, I am. My collection of antiques may be unmatched by anyone in this room. As I got closer to the point, their fake smile disappeared, as did the unnecessary small talk. What exactly are you looking for? David handed him a picture of the symbol that Melody had mentally dubbed the Mark of the Beast. Any mention of this? It doesn't matter where exactly it's used. We need everything. I'll try to find out what I can. Glancing at the symbol again, Malik clarified. Can I have the picture? Of course. We're willing to pay handsomely for any information. Malik folded the photo in half and slipped it into the pocket of his pants. He waved off Mikhail's offer. I don't need money. Then what do you want in return? Melody barely managed to bite her tongue in time to keep from saying what she was thinking. Stories from your childhood? I'm genuinely curious about your agency's activities. I think your affairs can add some excitement to my rather monotonous life. Would you like us to take you on a job sometime? No, I wouldn't want to get in your way. Just regular conversation is enough. God, he's so strange. Mikhail seemed to share her thoughts. He replied with some doubt. Alright, information is for information. But we will pay money for any items found related to the symbol. Malik smiled a little too cheerfully and extended his hand. Deal. As she watched the firm handshake, Melody couldn't shake the desire to leave this place as soon as possible and return to Astrea. Fortunately, no one wanted to keep the conversation going. After exchanging his business cards with Malik, Mikhail and David politely asked her if she wanted to stay. They probably breathed a sigh of relief at her firm no. I can't wait to just lie in bed and close my eyes. She didn't even look around as she followed Mikhail. The soiree, which had been labeled as an excuse to unwind, suddenly drained the last ounce of her strength. Okay. Interesting. Melody was half asleep by the time she reached her room. But by the time she showered and collapsed into bed, her drowsiness had sneakily evaporated. I hate when that happens. What kind of life is this? Wondering about the events of the day, she decided to distract herself with something simpler. She reached for her phone. As she absently scrolled through a news feed, her mind kept returning to the strange professor, until her finger hovered over the flickering screen. A familiar surname in a headline made her heart skip a beat. Shoot. The reporters caught wind of the fact that I was at the hospital after all. Preparing for another barrage of insults aimed at her, Melody swept her trembling finger across the screen. What did I say this time? Probably that I'm a monster who wants to finish off their son. How trivial. But the lines that caught her attention surprised her. Mr. and Mrs. Cladis died at 10:10 p.m. in a horrific car accident. Unable to believe her eyes, Melody read it again and again. Their son, upon learning of his parents' death, died of a heart attack. The gruesome scene was somewhat blurred due to censorship, but it deprived her of sleep for good as it evoked an inexplicable horror within her. The wrecked car that collided with the truck was empty. Nearby, covered with white sheets, lay the bodies. And a little away from the bodies were two spots. They were carefully blurred, but not enough to disguise what they were. Their heads? Some people should find a better use for their heads than thinking nasty things and being rude. Trust me, she's gonna lose hers sooner or later. And what kind of car? It wasn't a car accident. Someone staged a car accident, but they cut their heads off. Because what kind of car accident where they both happened to be decapitated at the time? And this comes after Malik is like, oh, they're definitely going to get their punishment. There's no forgiveness. And wouldn't you prefer if they died? Child, I'm scared of him. So what time was the party? I think the party was at like 11 or 10. Either way, he didn't show up until later. We had been at the party for a while before he showed up. So he doesn't have an alibi. But why would he do it? Why though? Was it one of the voices? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's all kind of crazy. Wow, okay. Well, that's a lot to unpack. What happened in that episode? But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and try the like button, some love, subscribe to see more content like this, and I will see you next time. Bye!